Ousmane Dembélé has won a World Cup. He has started a World Cup final. He is officially the best footballer alive right now. And until 4 days ago, he had never scored a single goal at a World Cup. Not one. Not in 2018, not in 2022. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how that drought ended and how it ended so violently that nobody will be asking questions anytime soon. Let's establish who we're actually talking about first. Last September, Dembélé won the 2025 Ballon d'Or, football's award for the single best player on the planet over the previous year. He didn't scrape it either. He beat Lamine Yamal, Barcelona's teenage sensation, by over 300 points. He did it off the back of a Paris Saint-Germain season that won basically everything there was to win. The league, the cup, the Champions League, the full quadruple, capped off by a 5-0 demolition of Inter Milan in the final itself. 35 goals along the way, in a season that a few years earlier looked impossible for him. Luis Enrique had to reposition him entirely, moving him from a winger to an out-and-out striker, after Dembélé spent a stretch as the squad's most fined player for disciplinary issues. He turned that around completely. This is not a hidden gem. This is, by the only metric that actually exists for it, the best player in the world. And he had to rebuild himself to get there. So here's the contradiction this video is actually about. The best player alive walked into the World Cup with a record at World Cups that made no sense for someone at his level. Let's go through exactly why. In 2018, Dembélé was part of the France squad that won the entire tournament. He's a World Cup winner. He even started 2 of France's 3 group games that year against Australia and Denmark. But after that, he barely featured again. A 2-minute cameo in the quarter-final, an unused substitute in the final itself. By 2022, he had a bigger role. He started 6 of France's 7 matches, including the final itself against Argentina. Extra time, penalties, all of it. Still, no goal. And here's the detail that makes it sting. In that exact final, Kylian Mbappé scored a hat-trick. Only the second player in World Cup history to do that on the biggest stage there is. So while his strike partner produced one of the most iconic individual moments the tournament has ever seen, going into this tournament, the actual reigning best player on the planet had nothing to show for 2 entire World Cups. That gap is exactly why people could get away with overlooking him here in 2026, Ballon d'Or or not. And early in this tournament, the criticism started. It got pointed enough that Didier Deschamps, the France manager, had to publicly tell reporters to get off Dembélé's case. Then, against Iraq, it finally happened, in 2 parts. In the 54th minute, he set up Mbappé for a goal. Then, in the 66th, he got one of his own. His first ever World Cup goal. The drought was over. Nobody had any idea it was about to look tiny by comparison. 1 goal against Iraq was the story of relief, proof he could still do it on this stage. Nobody was calling it redemption yet. Redemption needed something much bigger than a single goal. It needed the biggest remaining match of the group stage, with the whole tournament watching. The final group game, France against Norway, both still was something to prove. And this is where it stopped being a story about 1 goal. 7th minute, Dembélé scores. France ahead. Nothing unusual yet. 20th minute, Dembélé scores again. 2 goals inside 20 minutes, and Norway have no answer. Norway pull one back in the 21st. Doesn't matter. 32nd minute, Dembélé completes the hat-trick, set up by Kylian Mbappé himself, the same player whose World Cup final hat-trick had quietly overshadowed him for 4 years. 3 goals, 1 assist before half-time had even arrived. He was taken off in the 65th minute. Job already done, replaced by Bradley Barcola. Desiree Doué added a 4th in injury time. Final score, France 4, Norway 1. France finished top of the group, heading into the knockout rounds with the exact kind of form you don't want to be drawn against. Look at the numbers behind it too. 57% possession, 19 shots to Norway's 10 of those on target. This wasn't a flattering scoreline. It was a genuinely dominant performance, and Dembélé was the centre of every bit of it. Here's how rare what he did actually is. It's the first time any player has scored a hat-trick in the first half of a men's World Cup since 1994. Oleg Salenko for Russia against Cameroon. And measured from kickoff, it's the second fastest hat-trick in the entire history of the World Cup. Only one man has ever done it quicker, Austria's Eric Prost. back in 1954 in 24 minutes. Dembélé needed 32. There's a separate record for the fastest hat-trick measured by time between goals rather than from kickoff. That one belongs to a substitute who came off the bench in 1982 and scored 3 in 7 minutes. But that's a different question being asked entirely. From opening whistle, only Prost has ever been faster than what Dembélé just did. Days ago, he had 0 World Cup goals to his name. Tonight, he has 4. And he's sitting near the top of the Golden Boot race with the entire knockout stage still to come. So, World Cup curse, best player on the planet who couldn't deliver on the biggest stage, that conversation is over. And it didn't end quietly. It ended with 3 goals in 32 minutes, a stat line nobody's matched in over 3 decades. Think about how fast that flips a narrative. Earlier that week, the question was whether the reigning Ballon d'Or winner would ever actually show up at a World Cup. Tonight, the question is whether he'll be going home with a golden boot. Same tournament, same player, completely different conversation. And it took 32 minutes to get there.